Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So I asked on my Instagram what you guys would rather, a wash and chat or a drive and chat, and the drive and chat won. I love doing these. I don't actually get to do them too often. The last drive and chat that we had, I was talking about the potential of selling this and what to go to next and kind of going over my options. I kind of wanted to pivot off of that because I have been thinking about that a lot since I made that video, and obviously since I've been kind of mulling this all over. But the main topic of this video that I would like to discuss is, do mods add value? A lot of people always says mods don't add value. You can't sell your car for more than it's actually worth because of the modifications. In fact, it actually decreases the value. So based off of my experience and what I have with my personal cars over the years, I wanted to go over that specific topic. So let's go ahead, hop in the car, go over my thoughts, opinions, kind of where I'm at as well in terms of what I want to do with this thing. And then we can go over the topic of, do mods add value to your car? All right, guys, so in the car, wanted to update you guys a little bit. I was out for a drive and I brought the camera along because I was like, you know what, let's kind of go over where I'm at. And also I'm going over a topic that a lot of you will understand. So as you guys know, this is a 2018 F80 M3 competition. I have modified it to my liking, done pretty much every single thing that I want to do to it. And I'm at the point now with it where I have been contemplating selling this car to move on to something else. Move on to some dream cars, you know, go after some cars that I've always wanted to own and, you know, kind of just experience more car life, more car journey, kind of go through the process and everything. And I'm at the point with this car where I've done pretty much every single thing I want to do to it. Of course, there's a few small details that I would like to do, but in the end, the big stuff, the main vision that I've always had for this car has been complete. And I know many of you are like, wow, that's crazy you even consider selling it, because usually when you complete a car, quote unquote, you want to keep it, you want to hold on to it forever. But my ownerships and my journey, I really enjoy the modifying aspect of it. I like having a vision in my mind and creating that, bringing that to life, sharing that with you guys as part of the fun of it as well. Granted, I do everything for myself. It's really fun to kind of document that and share that here on YouTube. So because I'm at that point in this journey with this car, I have contemplated letting it go. Now, I love this car. I think it's great. It really is a lot of fun. It's beautiful. Everything about it I love. I'm not out of love with it. I've never lost my passion for it. It's not that circumstance whatsoever. But what I was going over in the last drive and chat was that I was curious which direction I should go. Sell this, go get a, you know, perfect spec G80 M3, spec it out at the dealer with my exact options that I want, go through that whole experience. It's been a dream of mine to do that, to be able to build my ideal spec M3 and just get that experience and enjoy it. You know, I never thought in a million years I'd be able to do that. So it's kind of a dream to check that off the box as well. And then obviously, as I mentioned, as well as the GT3, you know, that's a car that I think all car enthusiasts aspire to have. And in grasp of it, I see the vision, I can see it happening in the near future. And in order to do both of those, or either one of those, I would have to make a sacrifice. And that sacrifice would be the F80. And, you know, it's kind of bittersweet to think that way, but at the same time, you know, in order to reach your goals, you kind of gotta make some sacrifices. And you know, I would love, people were telling me, oh, keep the F80 and go get a GT3. Like, okay, for sure, if I could, I would, but I'm not in that situation where I can A, afford all those cars at the same time, and B, have the place to park all of them. You know, I just have a 2-car garage. We park one car, the truck, in the driveway, so there's not much space to kind of hoard all these cars. And I'm not much of a car collector at that. I have enough anxiety and stress maintaining the 3 vehicles that we do have. So having more, especially, you know, high-strung, high-revving sports cars, I don't know if I can handle that at the same time. So the direction that I'm kind of leaning at this point is, I still don't know. Well, I guess I'm leaning towards one way. Obviously, the GT3 is where I want to be. It's kind of every car enthusiast's aspirations to get to that point. And while I kind of am leaning towards that way, the G80 is still looking really, you know, appealing to me. Being able to spec out my M3 exactly the way that I want it, get that whole feel, picking it up from the dealer and all that. Because the way that the world is going currently with cars, you know, everyone's moving towards electronification, and non-manual cars and all that, and I feel like this is my last chance to get an M3 with a manual transmission as well as an internal combustion engine. So I'm kind of indifferent. I don't know what to do. I know people were saying that the G80 and the F80 are kind of similar, at least comparing the base model G80 to the F80, which I do agree on, because that's kind of what I said when I did drive one. I had my buddies for a week, the base manual G80. Still, I love the F80 as well, so there's still that into play as well, and just not do anything and just keep this and enjoy it for even longer. So I don't know. I know I seem very indecisive about this and everything, but this is part of the journey for me. This is what every car enthusiast does. We're always kind of planning the next move and seeing what's next, and if you see an opportunity, sometimes you got to take it. But I don't know. I'm back and forth. Oh, there goes an Isle of Man G80 right now. That looked really good. Shoot. All right, so let's get into the dirt of this. Do mods add value to your car? Now, this is such a touchy subject, because anytime that anybody lists a car that has a few modifications on it, people are like, hey, these are worth this. I'm going to list the car for a little bit more because some people see value in that. And then all hell breaks loose. People are like, oh, you can't sell your car for more, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. It's kind of ridiculous. But I want to share my experience in the cars that I have owned and that I have personally sold privately over the years. Every single car that I have owned, I have sold privately with modifications on it. And I've sold it for more than it was technically worth on paper. And that is because I had some modifications on it. I sold it in a better state than it was when I first got it. Granted, it obviously had more miles on it and it was used. The actual car was better. I made it better. And people saw value in that. People saw what I'd done to the car and were like, hey, that's stuff that I would do. I can see the value in that. So for me personally, when I sold cars, I sold them modified and stocked, as I mentioned. I've seen both aspects of it. I've seen them in all different types of climates where, the market was way up and the market was way down. I've seen it all. And I am here to say that mods 100% do add value. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I saying mods do add value when most people say they don't? In my personal experience selling my cars, both modified and stock, I saw a bigger return on cars that were modified. I found that one specific person that was looking for a very well done, that specific car. They appreciated all the value, the effort, the time, the money, the labor, everything that I put into those cars. People saw value in that. And they were like, you know what? I'm getting pretty much a discount on a modified car. It gets a little tricky because technically the car is worth less, to insurance and all the banks and everything. But you have to be able to have the means to make up that difference. So if you have the means to do that, then it's worth whatever it is to that one person. More specifically, let's get into detail. My STI, I bought that for $36,000 back in 2017. I documented my entire ownership on the channel here over the last pretty much 6 years of that car. I believe it was like 38 or 39,000 miles on it. Not that much in grand scheme of things in 6 years, but I modified that. I think it was close to $45,000 worth of modifications on that car. I partied a decent chunk out of it. I parted out the fluff is what I call it, the cosmetic stuff that didn't really change the way the car felt, but I left all of the performance modifications, so the turbo and the external wastegate, everything that I did that make it as fun as it was, I sold it as is like that. And I sold that car for $40,000. Pretty crazy if you ask me. The car technically was worth less on paper, but because someone saw value in that, they saw how well I maintained the car, how well I modified it, and obviously documenting that, people don't have their entire car ownerships via video documented like the way that I do. So they saw value in that, and they bought the car sight unseen. I picked them up and they drove it home, and they're still enjoying that car today. And I know what's going to come next. The $40,000 that you put into the car for modifications, you need to make that back. Well, I parted out about $25,000 worth of modifications. Another aspect that I personally have in my circumstances, I do this on YouTube. So any of the monetization aspect of it that I got from it made up that difference of what I spent. So at the end of the day, I drove that car for free for 6 years, basically. So my E46 M3 is another example. I bought that car for $24,500 in 2009. Had 26,000 miles on it. The thing was a baby. It was brand new. And this is a good road. I'm gonna refrain. I gotta talk. And then 4 years later, I sold it for $26,500. I did sell that car somewhat modified. I sold it with the catless headers, the exhaust, the Super Sprint exhaust. Sold it with the KW V2 coilovers and a few other things here and there. And I sold it for more. Again, I parted out a few things, made up that difference. Pretty much drove that car. I washed my hands with it after 4 years. There were some other cars as well. My WRX, same scenario. I, modified that car to my liking, sold it for more than I bought it for, and that kind of brings me to the F80. Now, you guys are probably thinking, what the heck? There is no way. Yes, there is a way. I currently have an offer on the table that is legit, and that one person came along and was like, hey, I can appreciate what you've done to the car. I appreciate all the value and effort and time you put into it. I love everything about it. What you're asking. We talked about it, and they agreed. So yes, I can sell the F80 for more than it's technically worth on paper. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm in kind of a different circumstance where I do this stuff on YouTube, where I'm able to document this stuff, and people see all that documentation behind it and can go back and literally see my entire ownership throughout my time with the car and see what I thought about the modification, how it was installed, all of that, which is worth its weight in gold. But what I'm getting at is that if you modify your car, do it right. Use high quality modifications. Make sure you document that, whether it's video, pictures, what have you, or Excel spreadsheet, whatever. Something to document your ownership to prove to the potential buyers that, you're doing the right thing. Selling a car privately modified, it does have its cons. It's gonna take much longer to sell a car modified privately, asking for a little bit more than if you were to part it out, trade it into the dealer. I think that goes without question. But at the end of the day, if you want to modify your car, I always say do it right. Do it right the first time. Buy once, cry once. Do that one modification. That's a little bit more money, but it has the reputation of being a really solid modification. Don't just throw things on there just to do it. I understand most people would probably part things out and make their money back, but what I'm getting at is that if you do it right, people will see the value in that. People will understand that you know how to build a car, or what you're doing. There's 2 deer. Don't run into the road, please. So people will see that. They'll trust you. They'll put their trust into you, knowing that you built a really good car. And I feel like I've proven myself over the years, especially on here, that what I put into my car is all my attention. I do it right. I use a high quality, very reputable modifications, and it turns out great every time. And for me, in my circumstance, it has always worked out where I didn't have to part out a car completely to sell it. I've sold them pretty much modified or totally modified, and it's worked in my favor. So it kind of comes all the way back to when you first get the car, make sure you're getting a really good example. Get the best example that you can possibly get. When you're doing modifications, make sure you can do the best modification you possibly can get. Install it right. If you're not comfortable doing it, have a shop do it. Pay the labor, get it done right. Don't cheap out. Don't try to get by and do it the wrong way. People will see that. So for me, in my circumstance, yes, mods do add value. Every single time I've sold a car is worked in my favor, and I'm really grateful for that. Any car that I do sell, I work for it. It takes a long time. My STI, I listed that back in November. It didn't sell until March. It took a lot of time, a lot of tire kickers, but at the end of the day, I found that one buyer that appreciated everything, and I was able to sell it for what I was asking for. So obviously I know it can go both ways. Selling a modified car can decrease the value, especially if you trade into the dealer, because they don't care about modifications. They just want the cars as stock as possible. To be completely honest, it doesn't add value to them. But in a private sale, when you're selling it to enthusiasts, especially a car that a car enthusiast loves and enjoys, it may work in your favor. So my advice, in the beginning, get a really good example, use high quality modifications if you are going to modify, and then see what happens. So yeah, that is my spiel. That is my advice on modifying a car. Does it add value? In my circumstance, it most certainly has worked and benefited me For you, it may be a little bit different, but you know, I just wanted to kind of put that out there because there's so much negativity selling a modified car. It's crazy to hear what people say, and you know, at the end of the day, if a car sells for what you're asking for, that's what it's worth. The car is only worth what it's worth to that specific buyer, and if it happens to be a little bit more, then it's technically worth more. So that is all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go enjoy the car a little bit more. It's a beautiful day, and I got some really nice back roads ahead of me, and I'm gonna go enjoy them. So if you guys have any questions or anything else at all, please leave them in the comments below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple. I'll catch you guys in the next one.